Yo, what is poppin', my guys? It is your boy Ashley, and today I am bringing you our IBA draft analysis. Now, this is something I am super excited for. I love this league a lot. I was in D2 last season and moved up to D1 after one of the coaches left. I had a little bit of a rough time with my team. It was definitely not a team I was very comfortable with, or that I think was great. I didn't make it any better with my transactions, but the team itself was just not what I expected when I joined in. So I decided to just shred it and just pick a lot of mons that I really liked. So this time I tried to go for something more, not as much standard, but more balanced. Instead of just picking up a ton of huge offensive threats with zero hazards or defoggers or walls or just good Pokemon in general. So with my first pick in the draft, I think I had the number 9th pick or the 8th pick, somewhere around there out of 16. So kind of plump in the middle, if I'm remembering correctly. I may not be. I think I might have been, I don't know. I was in the later half of the draft for sure. And I went with Hoopa Unbound for my first pick. Obviously, this man is a threat. 160 attack and 170 special attack means that this thing can pretty much break through whatever. It gets fantastic coverage, it gets set up in nasty plot, and to be honest, I'm a huge fan of its 130 special defense. Like, 80 speed is not great, 80 HP is mediocre, so it's solid, especially with the 130 special defense. Its 60 defense is absolute garbage, especially given it's got that 4 times weakness to U-turn. So definitely he's got his weaknesses, but certainly a very strong tier 1 pick overall, and a mon that I do have experience using. I actually won the HBL. I mean, I know you guys know if you're on the channel, I won HBL, not HBL, sorry, probably not going to win HBL. I won the HBT with a speed passing Hoopa Unbound Scolipede team, and in the IBA, it turns out speed passing wasn't banned. So with our second pick, we're going to go ahead and pick up Scolipede. Now, there's a lot of reasons I picked up Scolipede other than the speed passing. There was a lot of times when I was using Scolipede where I found that if I was packing a Swords Dance set instead of a speed passing set, that I could have clean swept through teams with Scolipede on its own. It's a very strong Pokemon. Speed Boost is such a deadly ability for a setup sweeper, especially one that can take hits with a good dual typing of Bug Poison. Obviously, it's got some weaknesses in some pretty key areas, but it can come in on a lot as well, and with the right investment be pretty bulky, especially since you don't have to invest much in speed, because as the turns start going, basically after 1 or 2 turns, you will be able to outspeed everything on your opponent's team with very minimal speed investment. Obviously, on top of that, we do have the speed passing ability as well. Being able to pass speed into the Hoopa Unbound, as well as some of these other threats that we'll talk about later, is going to be very nice. And again, it also gives me hazards such as spikes, poison, toxic spikes. I'm a huge fan of Scolipede. Definitely one of my favorite Pokemon I've used in the format so far. So, not much more to say about Scolipede. We'll move on to our next pick, being Infernape. Now, here is a Pokemon I was very excited to use because it has shredded me. It isn't, maybe it hasn't, I wouldn't say it shredded me, but it's definitely given me a ton of issues in the past playing against people, because it's such a fast mon. Base 108 speed is absolutely fantastic. Seeing as it has 104 attack and 104 special attack, you can run it mixed, especially since it gets access to Swords Dance and I want to say Nasty Plot. I'm not sure. I have to double check. It's not a mon I've used a ton, but I do know that it does get offensive setup at the very least. It's a great Choice Scarf user. It's a great Choice Band user. It's got priority and Vacuum Wave and Mach Punch. It gets rocks. Infernape is a fantastic Pokemon that will definitely cause some switches and definitely help me maintain some momentum, because it does get U-turn as well, and I wanted to prioritize getting U-turn and getting Volt Switch, because as you'll see later, I do have a Regenerator mon, as well as just a lot of Pokemon that appreciate being pivoted in. So I decided very early that I wanted a strong Volt Turn presence on my team. Next up, though, we'll go ahead and talk about my mega pick, which is Mega Aerodactyl. This gave me some points to be able to scoop up another tier 1 as well as another tier 2, which turned out to be very important to my draft plan. So I'm super happy to have gotten a tier 2 mega that I really like. First of all, 150 speed is banana grams. That is so fast. And every time an opponent comes to me and they're trying to EV for speed and they look at my team, yeah, there's the speed pass element, which makes the speed creeping hard anyway. But having a mon straight out the gate that's going to be 150 speed is also going to be a huge asset to my team, especially another mon that gets rocks, especially a mon that gets defog. It gets all sorts of great stab moves. Well, I mean, I guess not fantastic flying stab, but good moves across the board. It's got great coverage in my opinion, especially with certain moves being boosted by tough claws. It's not the bulkiest thing in the world, but it doesn't have to be. It's a glass cannon. It's supposed to come through, shred through a team. It also gives me defog support, which I forgot to mention in the little support section of my spiel there. But really excited to have Mega Aerodactyl on the team. I think it's a really cool mon. I think it provides my team with a lot of options, and just with those top 4 picks already, we are looking to have a very speedy team. Now, I decided to slow it down a little bit in the second leg of the draft, and we pick up Shaman. Psych. It's a base 100, so not slowing down by much. That's barely slowing down. I think it's very nice seeing that I have a couple of different speed tiers to make opponents hit. They have to make decisions. They can't just hit a certain speed over 100 and outspeed my entire team. They have to think about Dactyl at 150. They have to think about Infernape at 108, Scolipede at 112, and now Shaman at base 100. So I think that Shaman gave my team a lot of versatility. Seeing as it's one of those fantastic base 100 mons, it can pretty much play any kind of role you need it to on a team. It's got defensive options, it's got offensive options, it can be bulky, especially on things that it resists, and having a natural cure as an ability is so good if you decide to go for like a sub-seed set or anything like that, any set that would normally be prone to toxic, as well as just being able to, if you get unluckily froze, you can just switch it out. A lot of versatility that comes with an ability like that. Doesn't always come in handy, but it's one of those that when you have it, you're very happy you have it. I also like having a Leech Seed user on my team. I'm sorry guys, I'm going to clear my throat. I really like having a Leech Seed user on the team. It's something I haven't had much in Draft League format, and I think having Leech Seed is great because it can force switches on your opponent. Like, they may normally stay in, but the Leech Seed brings them down. You know, you guys know how Leech Seed works if you're watching these videos. I hate when I try to over-explain shit. Anyway, very excited to use Shaman. I've used it a tad bit in RU, and I very much so enjoyed it. So I'm very happy to have it in League and see really where it's going to take me through the season. Next up is a mon that I am very excited to use in the Draft League format. It's a mon that I've liked pretty much since I started playing competitive Pokemon, and that is Gliscor. Now, Gliscor has always been, as I said, one of my favorite Draft League Pokemon, but it gets defogged now. So now we get rocks. It has Swords Dance to boost its mediocre 95 attack to something a little bit greater. It hits 95 speed, which is very good. I think any Pokemon that can be bulky and wall, being above 80 speed even is really good. Like, for example, I think Tentacruel is a very underrated mon because it's bulky, it spins, it does all sorts of defensive things, but it does it at base 100. I'm fairly certain it's base 100. But anyway, enough talk about Tentacruel. We didn't draft that. We drafted our boy Gliscor. I mean, it's always had defog, but now you can do it with Poison Heal, which means that the longevity of this mon is severely gone up because a Roost Poison Heal set is damn near impossible to knock off if you're not carrying that 4x super effective ice move. So definitely a huge fan of this pickup. I think it's got lots of potential. It is another mon that gets Baton Pass with agility, so I can catch people off guard. They might be expecting the Scolipede. Here comes the Gliscor. I actually won a game in D2 last year with an agility Gliscor, which I thought was awesome. I love this mon. I don't really know what else to say. It is 4x weak to ice. Its special attack is garbage, but you don't really need it. It's got fantastic defense. It's got special defense, but you really can't ask much more of a nice bulky mon than what you're getting with Gliscor. I would just like to say at this point currently that I feel like I'm doing a great job of sticking with my draft plan. That's something that I always have a very hard time doing. But when I drafted Hoopa, I wanted to support Hoopa with speed. I wanted to support Hoopa with switches for when I didn't want to pass speed. And now we have drafted 2 U-turn mons. We've drafted some leech seed mons, which are going to force speed. We have 2 different baton pass users, one of which is very bulky and one of which is more offensive. We have a very, very fast mon to discourage scarfers. And we have 2 stealth rockers, I think, as well as a spikes and toxic spike setter. So I'm very, very happy. Oh, and we have two means of removal as well with 2 defoggers. So very much so liking the composition of my team. Next up, we have our boy Slowking. So Slowking is one of my favorite Pokemon from the older generations. I just love the way that it looks, and I'm a big fan of its stat distribution as well. He doesn't. Obviously, it would be much better in this scenario, but if we could take some of that attack out, just take some of the attack out, throw that into defense, possibly a little bit more into special defense, make it a little bit bulkier, or make it a little bit more attacking. But that 75 attack really kind of feels like a waste on this mon that has good stats really around the clock overall. We have 95 HP, 80 defense, 110 special defense, and 100 special attack. So the reason I'm very excited to use this Pokemon is because it has the ability to use Regenerator. So this is going to be a huge part. This and Shaman and Gliscor are probably going to be some of my main defensive mons, because they just are able to keep their health up so high due to things like Leech Seed, due to things like Poison Heal, and with Regenerator. These 3 mons do a fantastic job of just keeping the health high. We don't really have a cleric per se, but as long as we can pivot between these defensive mons, I think we'll be okay. Slowking also gets access to Nasty Plot with its base 30 speed, and I really don't have anything on this team. Well, I have a couple things, but we'll get to those when we get there, about Trick Room. But with the right matchup, Slowking could easily Nasty Plot up Psychic, Scald, Sweep under Trick Room. But it's just a mon that I like a lot. I haven't used it much in League, but it's given me some problems in League, as well as I've given other people problems with it on the ladder. I toyed around with it for my VGC 17 team. It feels like I've been trying to fit this mon onto a team for a very long time, and it finally all came together, so I'm very happy to have it. Next up, we have Comfy. This was a tier 5, and yes, I did pick up a tier 5 in round 8, but I felt it was necessary to reach for it at this point. There weren't that many other fairy types available on the board. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. You guys all know what Comfy does. Triage is a beautiful ability, allowing you to calm mind up and draining kiss the shit out of people. I've used this mon in the MLP before, and I consistently loved every time I brought the kind of things this mon was capable of doing. It does get U-turn. I'm fairly certain it gets U-turn. It does get U-turn. It does. And it does also get Trick Room, but seeing how it's base 100 speed, I don't know. That is one thing I'm worried about. This team is a little bit susceptible to Trick Room, seeing as how fast it is overall. But I do think that with Slowking and our other Trick Room answer I'll talk about later on, that it won't be as big of an issue as I'm hoping it won't be as big of an issue as I currently feel it will be. But back to talking about Comfy, I do get distracted. I'm sorry, guys. 90 defense, 110 special defense. That's banging day. That's nice. 51 HP isn't bad, but if you gave it more HP, this thing would be broken, simply because of Leech Seed and Draining Kiss. It has so many different ways to heal its health back up, and I feel like it's only a matter of time before they give this thing Wish, like it's gonna be a move tutor or breedable eventually. Like, it doesn't have it now, but this is a healing Pokemon. It does get a lot of different things that I personally like. For example, it gets Grassy Terrain. I think this team would be great under Grassy Terrain, especially with all my different healing options that I have. Obviously doesn't affect Gliscor, but mons like Slowking, Regenerator, and Grassy Terrain. We've got Shaman and Comfy, both very prominent Leech Seed users. Under Grassy Terrain would be fantastic, and I'm actually not sure. I don't think that's how it works, but it would be very cool if Grassy Terrain was activated, triggered Triage, because it does technically heal. But I know that's not how it works. I really wanted a nice fairy type. Gramble was tier 4. There was a lot of yeah, exactly. Gramble was tier 4. I I didn't want to spend a tier 4 pick on Gramble. As you'll see down at the bottom, I did take 4 tier 4s, but at the time of building my plan here, I was banking on getting Registeel after my Comfy pick, and it got sniped, so I had to readjust the rest of my plan to, in accordance with that. But at the time, that's what I was thinking. But very, very excited to have Comfy. It's a really, really cool fairy type, and something I'm comfortable with using. I wanted a good mix of mons that I was comfortable with using and mons that I haven't really used yet. As far as the mons we've talked about so far, the only ones I really have not used much are Infernape and Mega Aerodactyl, and I've used Mega Aerodactyl in doubles. I've used it a fairly good bit in doubles, so I have a good idea about the things it can and can't take, but I don't know what the point of saying that was. I wanted a team that I was comfortable with, as well as a team that gelled together a little bit better than I had in the past. So now we have another U-turner, we have more Leech Seed, and also Comfy gets Defog. I totally forgot about that. I think it does, doesn't it? It does not. I thought it got Defog. Whatever. I don't know. I can't find it. I don't think it gets Defog. I thought it did. I don't think it does. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I didn't draft it for Defog. I drafted it because of its great health management system, its ability to wall dragon types, something my team definitely needs, because yeah, I've got a lot of good bulky mons, but as far as a physical dragon type comes, yeesh, I don't know about that. A lot of those dudes get ice coverage, and Gliscor can't really deal. But enough time talking about Comfy, man. Let's go on to my main man, Komala. Very, very excited to use this Pokemon. One of my favorite mons from Gen 7, one that I didn't actually use in any of my playthroughs, in either my playthrough of Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Moon, but definitely one of, in my opinion, the cooler mons that released with Ultra Sun, or with Sun and Moon. It's got speed 65, it's got defenses 65, HP at 65, solid special defense at 95, but 115 attack, which is, I guess, solid. This mon, actually I totally lied, this mon has Wish. I completely forgot. This is my cleric. Komala is my cleric. Something like an AV Komala. Well, AV Komala can't use Wish. I'm actually an idiot. Anyway, you can make Komala kind of bulky. Obviously this is a tier 4 mon. It's not gonna be the world's greatest wall, but I'll tell you what it does do. It gives me Wish, it gives me a rapid spin, and it gives me U-turn. So these are all very, very good things for my team, especially in a tier 4. It's nice to have a normal type on any team. I feel like it's never necessary to have a normal type, but getting a normal type in and getting a normal type activated is never bad. Mons like Snorlax are really good. Mons like, if you can grab Mega Kangaskhan, obviously that's a fantastic one. I'm not gonna sit here and just list off good normal type mons. You guys know what they are. Komala may not be elite and top tier, but I think it serves a great role in this team, giving me another form of hazard control, giving me another rocker. Fairly certain it gets rocks. It doesn't. I really should do more research before I talk in these videos, and I never even thought, like, the whole time I was drafting, I didn't even think that it got rocks until I was just sitting here talking about it. I get in my own way a lot. But anyway, enough about Komala. Let's move on to a mon I know even less about than Komala, Electros. So this is a mon, like, Jose helped me a ton with this draft, which you can probably tell this draft looks a lot better than most of my drafts in the past. That is because Jose, Shiny Weavile, big shout out to him, helped me plan this entire draft, helped me settled me down when I was reeling from some crazy picks, and just a good friend of mine in general. So thank you a lot, my guy. Anyway, we have Electros. Now this thing is cool because it has Levitate. I like Levitate mons. Any mon that's a ground immunity is the mon for me. That gives me 3 ground immunities on my team, meaning that usually, no matter what the kind of composition I'm bringing, what mons I do or don't decide to bring, I will typically have some way to come in immune on ground types. And Electros has a lot of really cool tools at its disposal. It's got Volt Switch, it's got Giga Drain, it's got Flamethrower, it's got Thunderbolt, obviously, it's got Knockoff. Now, unfortunately, its special move pool is much better than its physical move pool, which is unfortunate because its attack is 115 while its special attack is 105. But it really can do some good work against a lot of different opponents depending on what they bring, because its special coverage is so good. So if you can play the prediction game right, you can absolutely tear through some teams with this thing. I mean, you can't sweep with it, but you can definitely dent some holes in things. It gets insane coverage. Just scrolling through now, it gets steel coverage, dark coverage, dragon. It gets outrage, so you can use that 115 attack. It gets all sorts of different moves. Thunder punch. It also gets U-turn and volt switch, something that's very, very important to me. As I said, I really liked having U-turners and volt switchers on this team, and pairing them with regenerator mons like Slowking, as well as mons that can regenerate their own health, such as Shaman and Comfy. I really feel like these 5 mons you see here, I guess these 6, from Shaman to Electros, these are the people that are going to be carrying this team defensively. Electros, that's what we were talking about. It does have pretty terrible speed at 50, but typically you'll be forcing the switch anyway. It's more of a mid-game Pokemon than an early or late-game Pokemon, and I don't know. I mean, this is all assumption. This is hearsay. This is all what I hear from other people. I know nothing about this mon. I've never used it. However, I'm very excited to. I think it has a lot of potential to screw around with the opponent and run some very interesting sets. So finally, we have another Pokemon that I'm not familiar with, but absolutely love. This is Escavalier. I think this mon, in theory, is so cool, and every time I've watched somebody online on the internet, on YouTube, playing a Draft League game, and this man is here, I'm instantly interested because it's such a cool mon. Bug and Steel is not the world's best typing, but it's pretty damn good, especially with a 105 of special defense and defense. Now that 70 HP is mediocre, but those defensive stats are well above average, so I'm very excited to be using that. It's a nice defensive pivot, and that 135 attack is disgusting, especially for a mon that gets Swords Dance, because 135 attack, let's just throw a Swords Dance on it. Think about this. This is a very defensively bulky mon, right? Everybody's fearing Hoopa. That Scolipede could very easily pass into that Escavalier. That thing can start going ham. Its Choice Banded set has 0 switch-ins. Actually 0 switch-ins. It can be bulky with rest. It has, I'm sure if you don't know by now, I do have the Smogon pages open on the side, just to give myself a little something to look at. God, I love this mon. It has so many cool options to sweep. It's so powerful. It gets Stab, Fell Stinger. Think about that. You could easily bump up. I could pass from Scolipede into a Escavalier. Get some good chip on something. This Escavalier could be sitting at +2 speed or +3 speed. Get a Fell Stinger off and go to 130. And have that 135 attack times 3. Yeah, that's a GG, my friend. But again, very excited to use this mon, and it does give me a little bit of room and trick room. Like, obviously Komala, Electros, Escavalier, and Slowking aren't going to scare off a ton of teams trying to run trick room against me, especially ones with mons like Stakataka, but it's definitely no slouch, man. It'll make you think twice that Escavalier alone, because that thing can easily tear through a team with its 20 speed. But anyway, let me talk very briefly about my Z-move users, and then I'll let y'all go. To start off with, we obviously picked our man Hoopa Unbound. This thing is too strong not to give a Z-move. Anything, like that's the thing. Hoopa was always too strong. It has always been insanely strong. With the access to Z-moves, there really is, you can pick what you want to die, basically. Like, you could do calcs on somebody's team, and be like, oh hey, here we go, Hyperspace Fury with the Dark EMZ will OHKO literally everything on his team at max HP, max defense, which I have had before. Like, it's not very often that happens, but with people with frailer teams or people who have bulky mons like Cresselia is their only walls, you can literally pick a Z move and guarantee a kill the first time you get this mon in the game. It's absolutely ridiculous how strong this Pokemon is. Next up, we made Scolipede because, as I said, this is a mon that can be very, very offensive if it wants to. Running a Swords Dance set with maybe a Ground EMZ or a Bug EMZ will absolutely decimate opponents. I've seen this thing put in a ton of work through my own games as well as with games I've played on the ladder, stuff like that. I'm very excited to use this mon again, especially now that it has a Z Crystal in its possession. Now finally, I had a couple of different options here, but ultimately I decided that Infernape was the best one. I liked having mons that are fast with Z moves because those are the ones that really force switches. There's a lot of mons like Slowking that could have done okay with the Z move, but Escavalier, I didn't feel comfortable with giving a Z move because even though it would be a tight Z user and able to break through a bunch of teams with some Z moves, I didn't really like the fact that it was more than likely not going to come most of the time. This is a very matchup dependent Pokemon. I wanted what if you look at this team, what 3 Pokemon do you think are coming almost every time? Boom, 1 Hoopa, 2 Scolipede, 3 Nape. These 3 mons have so much utility to offer a team and so much offensive presence, especially on my team. They're my main offensive presences. So I just felt that it would be better for everybody if we just went ahead and threw the Z moves on them. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this draft analysis. I'm super excited to be in season 3. I had a ton of fun with these guys in season 2, even though I got shit on week after week, and I'm hoping to really turn it around this time, especially now that I've got a very solid team that I feel I haven't played any games with it yet, but I feel comfortable with it, guys. This is the first league. I've been jawning a little bit in the UBLN talking about how shit my draft is, which, to be fair, it may be decent. I don't think, usually when I talk to people about it, they agree that it's middle of the road. It's very mediocre. It's missing a lot of key components of a draft, but I don't think that's happening here. I think I set out with a draft plan. I drafted with somebody that is a great draft league player on my side, and I think for once I really did it. I did it right. I got a good team that I'm really happy with. So let's see how it goes, man. I'm super excited. The league is starting on January 1st, and I honestly cannot tell you how excited I am for it. Anyway, I will see you guys next time, and peace.